You are listening to the Unleashed and Aligned podcast, where we strip away the noise, unleash our truth, and align with our highest self. I'm your host, Coach Felicia, a life coach, energy guide, and your biggest believer. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Unleashed and Aligned podcast. I am here with Tammy Renee. She is a global entrepreneur, transformational speaker, author, thought leader of Wave Philosophy. And as a business and lifestyle coach, she helps introverts create and entrepreneurs build confidence, clarity, and presence as the foundation for media and brand success. Through global retreats, personal development tools, and intentional storytelling, she helps others design businesses and lives they love anywhere in the world as a global entrepreneur. Tammy Renee is the creator of the Introvert's Blueprint and host of Waves TV, Wave of Change. Travel, live globally, and global entrepreneurs making waves. These platforms spotlight purpose-driven leadership and amplify voices making an impact in the world. Welcome to the podcast, Tammy Renee.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know that was a mouthful, but that is three different shows that I do. So it's a
Yes,
mouthful.
I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I love your work. I think that who doesn't want to travel wherever they can and make a living doing it? That's so amazing. And I'm sure that your people that you coach, when they find success and when they're doing what they probably didn't realize they could do, I bet that's such a great feeling for you as well.
Well, yes. I'm here now in Curacao, so I'm loving it. So I'm setting the example of showing you that you can go away for so long and make that change.
Oh, so amazing. So I want to know a little bit before we get started about your business because I am intrigued myself. And what got you started in that? Have you always traveled or is this something new?
Okay, so with my travel, I've always traveled. So I've always traveled, but I've kept travel separate from business in the
Mhm.
past. And so my business way philosophy, which is more mindset work, I started focusing on that and I still kept my travel separately. But I kept saying to myself, there's a way I don't want to be so serious all the
Mm.
time. I want to have fun too. How can I bring this together? I just wanted to bring my passion and my purpose together into one. And so that's kind of how the whole global entrepreneurship started to form and come together. So now, not only are we going to do work on the growth mindset, because you need that growth mindset to get out of the hustle mindset so that you can prosper and you can create a lifestyle, which is the travel all in one. So you create your business and align it with your lifestyle, and voila, you are a global entrepreneur.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. So, you're on the podcast for our Pride Month, and you are the last Pride Month, and I'm so excited to
Oh,
share your journey.
wow.
Yes. And I want us to start off with your pronouns for the listeners, and then how you identify in the LGBTQ community, and if you have any like specific labels.
Okay, so my pronouns is her. I don't really, I'm an older generation. So let me start off with that. I am
Okay.
55 years old. Okay. So a lot of the pronouns and all that's new to me. So I still go by she, her, no, they, or anything like that. I do identify as a lesbian, and I have been married for 15 years to a woman. And so this has been my life, per se, for the longest time now. The other interesting thing about me as a lesbian, so I used to be married to a man. And then when I got it, but I had that mindset of roles. So I do have this feminine, masculine role thing that I'm attracted to, and expectations as my spouse to do certain things. And I also have expectations of myself to provide certain things. So when I think of it that way, I do have this masculine, feminine energy going in my relationship still.
Mhm.
And I identify as a lesbian and she. And I also identify my spouse as a lesbian and she.
So take us back a little bit of when you first realized, because as you mentioned, you were married to a man, right? Before. So how was your journey? Like, how did that come out?
Okay, so for me, if I remember the day, I was 14 years old and I said to my mom, "What would you do if I told you I was attracted to girls?" And in that moment, she said she would disown me.
Mm,
And so I don't even understand how I did it, but I literally blocked it out of my mind
wow.
and I married the man she picked for me.
Mm,
And so that's how I was married for 10 years. And she signed me off at 17 to be married.
wow.
And so I got married at a very young age, but I don't even understand how I literally blocked it. But I do remember at 14, before I even dated anyone, I went to my mom and said that to her. And I was very comfortable doing it because I had a brother, he was my stepbrother, who was gay, and her and him were like
Mm,
this. They were buddies, right?
oh, yeah.
But maybe because it wasn't her biological child, she could not accept me being a lesbian myself. So I literally blocked it to please my mom, to
Wow.
be accepted by my mom, to feel like I fit in somewhere until I was married 10 years. And then it started coming back to me. And so I went to my husband at this time, and it came out in a way, maybe I'm bisexual because I'm married. Maybe that's what it is. And so I went to my husband, but I remember when I told him, the day I told him, and this should have been key right here. I said, "What if I fall in love?" And I said that to him before any actions were taken on the
Mm,
very first time that I told him that I felt attracted to women. And of course, since then, I started seeing women, but it was very separate. It was never a mixed thing. And after about a year of really understanding that, oh no, I'm not bisexual, I am a lesbian, and I got married because my mom picked this guy for me to marry. And yes, I have 3 beautiful children out of it, but I wasn't in love. I didn't have that connection. And once I started realizing I was missing the connection, because you never miss what you don't have, right?
mm.
So if you don't have that connection, you're just going through life. But once I realized I was missing this deeper connection in a relationship, I then moved house and divorced my husband and started my own lifestyle.
So when you were with your husband, did you have just like an open relationship? Was he out doing
What?
what he wanted or?
Nope. I was at more so exploring
Oh, okay.
this idea if I was really attracted to women. And that didn't last that long. That was less than a year. Like I wouldn't let it go on too long, but our relationship was already at a rocky part.
Mm,
And he was not interested in doing anything together. And he wasn't even interested in doing anything on his own. There was a reason why I married him. Very submissive, very not strong manly at all. I was more of a man in the relationship when I was with a man than I am with when I'm
mhm.
with a woman.
I think that we all go through these things to learn certain lessons. And I heard this person talking about their coming out story and they were saying how their mom like pulled the car over and was like, "Don't ever speak like that again," and stuff, and people booed. And he was like, "Don't boo my mom. It's that was how she was raised and she didn't know any better. And she was actually scared that people would treat me unkind." And I think that a lot of that happens when parents especially, like, the time that my mom was raised is probably starting to be a little bit more accepting, but honestly, I think there's like, her mind frame and my family's and that generation, I would say, like, 50s, 60s, was still really not a generation to accept that, and it depended on where you lived and things like that. I think that the parents are almost scared too, and some of them absolutely are just like, "That's not in my religion, my family, whatever." But
Right.
I think that sometimes it's like they don't know what to do, and they're just like, "Cut it off."
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
so there's a little bit of grace there, but then also maybe in their upbringing as well, they couldn't have been themselves because of what their parents said to them, and so part of it is, like, you have to conform.
Yeah. And I can agree with that on certain families. I can agree with that. But then I don't want to make excuses for the behavior
Right.
because my mom, in particular, is white. No one in her family agreed with her dating a black man. She
Mm,
was the rebel. She went against the grain. And so those rules really don't apply to everyone, meaning they don't want to feel different. They don't want to feel like the outcast. They don't want to be looked at as, oh my God, this is happening to her family. I can't agree with that with every family. Sometimes
right.
it's just a control thing.
Yeah.
And it's an expectations from them, not from society, from them. And so I can agree with you when it's, and I did not grow up in a religion home. So I
Mm,
can't even use that. So I can agree with you in a sense, as if you've been grown up in this religion home and it's very widely talked like we don't do this and nobody is doing it and nobody's a rebel, right? But when your own parent is the rebel
yeah.
and they put it back on you and say, I will disown you, that's control.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up, and I love that the conversation's going this way because it's so interesting as to, like, her being the rebel and things in that nature, and then having that, like you said, wanting to control who you are and what you do. So do you have a relationship with your mom now?
Okay, that has been a journey. But before I tell you the relationship, let me tell you what she used to tell us as a kid.
Okay.
Her dad disowned her because she got pregnant by a black man. She used to tell us that if he ever saw her on the street, he would run her down because she got pregnant by a black man. So let me put that as the backstory for my mom. So with my mom, when I first came out, and that was actually the beginning of me starting to live my truth. I stood up to my mom. And once I did that, I actually removed myself from her and I wrote her a letter because she was not happy. And I was like almost 30 at the time. And so I wrote her a letter and I told her, this is who I am. If you cannot accept me, you can't be in my life because this is how I'm happy. I can't keep conforming to what you expect me to be. And what you expect me to be is not who I am. And so I wrote that letter, I left the town, and I started living my life. Now, since then, now that was when I was almost 30. But since then, she just has this control thing about her. And so there's been ups and downs. And the most recent was during the pandemic when I started really getting into like personal growth and personal healing, trauma healing during the pandemic. When I started getting into that and more things started coming up about my childhood with her, I literally had to cut ties. Now, I now have ties with boundaries because I do believe respecting your parents. I don't believe cutting them off totally unless they've been like physically abusive. Not saying that she wasn't, but it's not something that I haven't been able to get over. I set boundaries and things like that. So now we have a relationship. It never will be what it used to be and it never will be what she wanted to be.
Mm.
It's now what I want it to be. And it's when we're on the phone, if you cross borders, I change the subject or I get off the phone.
So has she ever actually said, like, she accepts you for you, or has it just been this, "I'll communicate with you and have those boundaries"?
She has no choice right now.
Yeah.
Like she has to accept me if she wants me in her life. And so she wants me in her life more than she doesn't want to accept me. Now, what's interesting is Again, this is a control thing. You want your daughter to have a certain image to make you look good, right? So when I was dating a white person, she was more accepting. Then I dated a black person, she frowned a little bit, as if the black person wasn't good enough for me.
This is, like,
Controlling.
blowing my mind, though
Yes.
the way your mom thinks. This makes no sense.
Now, it makes no sense, but it's the perception because she thinks if I date a white person, oh, they're gonna love me, they're gonna treat me well, they're gonna do all these things. I remember dated black people, but she was also abused. And so maybe she relates that to that. But I'm married to a black woman. And she sees that now. She sees it took her time, probably a little time to really understand. Oh, yeah, she's well taken care of. She's giving me the image I want and being who she is. It's all about how she looks. I guess you would say that's more of a narcissistic kind of behavior, maybe somewhere in there, because it's all about how she is perceived, not how I feel,
Mm.
not how I'm living my life, not none of that, how she is being perceived.
She was a rebel, and now it's, "Oh, I need to have this image because I actually wanna feel loved and
Mhm.
validated, and I need
Yes.
people to accept me."
Yes. Or maybe it's this because I was this rebel. Now I got to prove me being a rebel will make life better. I don't
Yeah.
know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a pivotal time when you're younger and you're taking in information from our parents and maybe friends, family that are older to look up to. But I'm happy that you are where you're at. And I think that courage that it takes for you to really be authentically you in that.
But I have to be fair. I feel like because I didn't have my dad around either, and so I had a stepdad that did not like me, and
Mm.
so I do feel like I had to learn at a young age how to show up for me, but still pleasing my mom because she was the authority. Once I got out of her authority, I was able to take those skills I learned as a child and put them to use for me. So I understand what you're saying, but I also believe I didn't really like my mom loved to go to the beach. I knew when I went to the beach with her, it was a babysitting thing for me.
Mm.
It was I had to take care of the kids while she go sunbathe, go swimming, all those things. So I don't like going to the beach. So I found ways to get out of things that could have been fun as a child. So I missed out on the childhood fun that way, building the independence in my mind, what I want my life to look like.
It's so interesting the skills that maybe when you're younger, like you'd mentioned, you don't think that they're gonna serve you, but then when you get older, you're like, "This is actually really good skills and tools that I developed from a young age." Okay, so one of the most searched questions is, "Why are people gay?" How do you respond to that, especially for someone who's asking from a place of honest curiosity?
When people search that, I think they're really finding out if they are gay themselves. If they're having a feeling of intrigue of what it am I really attracted to the same sex? I don't think people are searching it in a way of, or they know someone or a friend. They found out a friend is gay.
Mm,
So they want to find out if this is really a chemical thing or is it a choice thing? It's not a choice thing. I don't think anyone chooses to be gay or straight. It's a feeling that you have of how you feel emotionally towards another person. And so when someone searched that, that's what I feel like they're trying to figure out if themselves are feeling certain things towards the same sex, or if they found out their best friend is gay and they want to understand if that's going to change the relationship between them.
yeah. I love
No.
your answer.
So for me, and I say that because for me, I always avoided female friendships
Mm.
because I didn't want them to feel like I would come on to them.
That's interesting.
or I didn't want them to be uncomfortable with my sexuality.
Was that, before or after you came out?
It really was all my life.
Oh,
But I know intentionally I was doing it as an adult after I came out.
oh.
Intentionally, I would do it. Subconsciously, I was doing it before I came out.
Mm.
But intentionally, I started doing it as an adult because I didn't want other females to be uncomfortable or think I would come on to them. Oh,
Yeah.
I can hang with a dude in a minute. You ain't got to worry about it. But I have that masculine energy also.
I love your answer because when I, like, looked up, like, most search things, I was actually surprised, and then but so that does make sense because I think that if you are searching for that, it's probably because you're questioning yourself. And like you said, maybe it's a friend or something, but I think probably in general it's for yourself.
Mm.
My next question is, some people worry that if they hang out or support LGBTQ plus people, they'll be hit on. And what would you say to someone with that fear?
I would say we are not like the man persona, as they say, every man's hitting on every woman. That does not happen. I can't speak for the gay guys, and I don't know because a guy is a guy, right? But with women, I think if you just accept them and not make comments about it or not have different expectations about it. But I feel like what we struggle is like your girlfriends are hanging out but you have a girlfriend and
Mhm.
you don't know whether to bring your girlfriend or not because you're hanging out with other women who are not bringing their spouses, but you have a girlfriend. So that's a little struggle. So setting those boundaries up in advance to know it's just the girls, it's just a friend, girlfriends. And I had to do this with my sisters because I never knew when to bring my spouse and when not to bring my spouse.
That's a good
So
point.
I think setting those things up in advance is we're just having a girls' no spouse night. Call it
Mm.
that, no spouse night. And then we're not out here trying to hook up with everybody. As a matter of fact, I don't know, but in my eyes, lesbians are not trying to sleep with everybody. We want one person, we want to feel they like love. They like just think of it as yourself. How you want to be in a relationship with someone and you just want to be with that person and you're not out there trying to be with everybody or anything like that. So it's just setting those boundaries and not expecting them to act like a man.
Yeah, and I love that because it's prior to the question, that was one of the reasons you didn't wanna hang out with females because you didn't want them to feel like that,
Yeah.
even though that's not how you are, right? And it's funny that's something that was in your mind as well. I think that when people are trying to demonize something, there's all these perceptions that people put around it. "Oh, this is what they do, and this is what they do," and they try to make it sound like a bad thing, and so I think that's where maybe this misconception comes from, is, like, the people that don't really know are making up
Mm.
ideas, and then it gets put into people's heads like, "Oh, that's how it is."
Think about this for a minute, and this just popped in my head as an example. You're in gym class, right? In your gym class, all the girls they get undressed in front of each other and they take showers or whatever. It's just that kind of environment in that
Mhm.
gym class. So everybody's doing it, right? And so you decide to join in with them, but then they find out you're a lesbian.
Mhm.
If they wanted to be mad at you or embarrass you or bully you or felt some type of way because you did something different they didn't like, all of a sudden, oh, she was looking at me. Oh,
Mhm.
she was flirting with me. She watched me every time I was in the shower. So those things start to come up. So that's why I feel like with lesbians, we are guarded when it becomes friends with other females because we just don't know what will happen in the future.
That makes sense.
An innocent thing now became a big thing.
How do you respond to someone that says, or maybe wonders, who's the man or woman in the relationship?
I can tell you how I responded to my mom.
Did she
So
actually ask that?
she
Oh my
actually
god.
asked me that when it finally came out, and I was like, I'm done. And that's when I left my husband. She literally I ain't even gonna say how the whole conversation started, but literally one of the questions out of her mouth was, "Who's the man and who's the woman?" And it blew my mind because I never even thought like that. I never even perceived it like that. This is just someone that I was in love with. And I said to her, "We're both women. What are you talking about?" You know what? Now that I'm in the relationship, I know there's a feminine energy and there's a masculine energy. I'm actually more masculine energy than my spouse, but my spouse looks more masculine than me. And so to say what I would say now is there's a balance. There's a balance.
And I think that goes for all relationships. I love that you brought that up with how your spouse might look more masculine, but they actually have more feminine energy because I feel like that's with a lot of like relationships in general. You can't judge a book by its cover, and people might want to dress or present themselves whichever way that they feel the most comfortable. And we put categories on what is male clothes, what's female clothes. I feel like that is a guy can like colorful things and not be attracted to men. It's like they just like colorful things, but
Right.
society makes it not okay to be like that. It's you must be this way if you
Right.
want to express yourself. And I like that you pointed that out. And I think that it's part of my growth journey and understanding, and I always feel like people should be whoever they wanna be, but I when I started really looking into this non-binary and, like, understanding it more, it's opening my eyes to so many things that we and I already knew that we categorize stuff, but it's like when you actually start being really consciously aware of that stuff, it's like to perfumes, to clothing, to everything, right? As a child, we're like, boys should be dressed like this and girls should be dressed like this. Like you said, we have all of those energies within us. When you start opening your eyes to all of these things, you're like, wow, we are really conforming and society is putting these structures in. And I think that part of it's, yeah, it's okay. It's a way for our minds to like box things and organize. I also believe that people need to be open-minded with that as well and not so rigid on a person to judge them by how they look or even how
Yeah.
they present.
And we all have masculine and feminine energy. The masculine energy is the aggressive energy, it's the go getter, it's the motivator, it's all those things. The feminine energy is more of the nurturing, the softer side of
Mhm.
things and things like that. So we have them both. And what happens is we tend to date a person to help balance that out. So, like my ex husband, he had more of a feminine energy, but people really didn't say anything. They just like, oh, he just soft, he just easy. You got the
Mhm.
best hands, man. He lets you do whatever you want. No, but he wasn't giving me the affection I needed to have a healthy relationship. And it wasn't even the extra masculine energy I need to keep me under control because it's okay. I can do whatever I want. So I think having that balance between the two people is key, not what their gender is. It's
Yeah.
having that balance.
What stereotype about the LGBTQ people do you find most frustrating or untrue, and how do you personally work to break that mold?
One of them is they choose to be that
Mhm.
way. You choose to be gay. I think that's a stereotype. I don't think anyone chooses to be that way. They go with their emotions, their feelings, and once once you are gay, you can't go back. So they call you a traitor or you never was gay at one
Mm.
point. So like I have someone in my family who has been gay all their lives, but now they're dating the opposite sex. And it's almost to them, they feel like they're having a coming out party because they were afraid people wouldn't accept them
Wow.
or that they lived a whole lie all their life. But I do feel like you can, your feelings and emotions of who you are attracted to can change. That doesn't make you bisexual. Bisexual to me would be you're dating the same sex and the different sex at the same time. But if you're going a long period of time, this person was dating women for all their lives. But that doesn't mean that was a lie just because now they choose to date a man. It just means that they have evolved in what they want out of a relationship. And maybe they want to feel more feminine in themselves because the females that they have dated, even though they may have been masculine, didn't treat them that with that femininity that they desired. It's like me being in a marriage for 10 years. That doesn't mean I chose to be a lesbian after 10 years.
Yeah.
It was always in me because I told my mom at 14, but I chose to live that lifestyle with that man. That's the difference because I knew and I changed for someone. Whereas if I'm choosing to be in the LGBT community, I don't think that's a choice that's coming into yourself.
It's a good point that you made because if you were attracted to both men and women, but you actually that's not like true to you. And so that
Right.
you identify as a lesbian. And like your friend would be like categorize herself as a lesbian, but then she was like, no, actually, I'm not attracted to women anymore. I actually want to date men and I am, changing to straight or whatever. It people want to categorize that must mean you're this or that must mean you're that. But it's like, what's true to you? What do you feel inside? And you get to choose. And I think that's a good point. What I had previously thought before you made that comment is that it's almost like you don't think of it when somebody's with a opposite sex, you just think, "Oh, they went from straight to gay," or whatever, but you don't think of it in the opposite way, like how what you
Mhm.
mentioned. You don't think of it as going from gay to straight. You're like, "That doesn't happen." And so I love that you brought that point out because, yeah, I would have never thought of it that way.
Yeah, and they also struggle because like again, as it to them, it felt like they were coming out. They were scared to tell people because they would feel like they thought they were living a lie all this time.
Yeah, and that's again, that's so interesting that it's flipped
Mhm.
and you can still have the same emotions. I think that's such a good especially for the listeners that maybe are going through that too. I think that's such a good point that you make, and it can still be a struggle regardless, and it's however you feel is how you feel, and it's okay. But it's important to be true to who you are and be authentically yourself, whatever that looks like.
Yep.
If someone is that's listening is questioning their identity or confused about their feelings, what would you say to them right now?
I would say, call me, we talk.
Yeah. Yes.
But I would say journaling is always good. Writing down why do you think you feel that way and what is it that you want to feel. So there's a difference in why you feel a way and what you want to feel. You may be feeling a way because of the pressure or because whatever, you know what I'm saying? But what and does that match why you feel that way and what you want to feel? And do that match? So journaling is a great way to kind of start sorting out some of those feelings before you go blab to your friend or get your friend's advice and your parents or whatever, because having a solid understanding of what you want is going to help you create those boundaries when people start pushing against you and telling you, oh, no, that's not the way it's supposed to be. Oh, no, you're just going through a phase. Like my mom said to me, oh, you're just going through a phase because your daddy wasn't in your life. They will push, and for anyone who doesn't understand it, afraid of it, or again, they don't want that to reflect back on them. So journaling is one of the things I would say, or find a support group. Like you can join meetup groups of people with what you're trying to achieve and be around people who are already living that lifestyle to really understand going in, not looking for a partner, but looking more for understanding.
I love that you said before you tell anybody else to journal and to really understand what's going on inside. I think that's so important because to your point, yeah, people are going to give you pushback or people are going to try to sway you. And then you're going to not be in your body and in your, like what you actually feel. And you're going to be in your head and you're going to be like, oh, maybe this is wrong or maybe I should do this.
Mhm.
And so I think that it's, like you said, it's so important to know how you feel, how you want to feel before you even ask anybody to put ideas in your head, really.
Right.
Yeah. So good
Mhm.
and so important. So, what's a moment in your journey that made you feel empowered, aligned, and free to be who you are?
I think I've touched on this one a couple of times, but to be very clear on this particular moment, it's when I stood up to my mom. It's literally the moment I stood up to my mom. When I did that, my whole life changed. I literally started to feel free. Now, prior to that, I never graduated from high school. I was with a parent, married to the man. She picked for me 3 kids later. But when I decided to actually speak my truth, and she divorced. I went back to college. I started traveling the world. That's when my travels started happening. It was just like the weight of the world was
Mm.
lift off my shoulders by being honest with the person who had the most pushback for me. And that would be the moment with my mom.
Oh, that's amazing. I absolutely love you, Tammy Renee. I am in a group with you, and that's how we met. So thank you so much for being on this podcast. I feel like I've gained so much more knowledge just by having you on for this short amount of time. And you're always so inspiring and have so much to give to others. And if somebody is questioning anything, reach out to Tammy. She's amazing. She does amazing things. And I think that you're just such an amazing light in the world, and I'm so happy that your journey has taken you to where you are right now. I think that it's amazing, and I love your backstory because it I know that it's going to inspire and it's going to touch a lot of people and they're going to relate to what you're saying. So thank you so much for being on my podcast. And is there any last words that you want the listeners to know before we wrap up?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This has been very nice coming on here, talking about the lifestyle, right? Talking about the lifestyle that we choose to have, which is crazy because that's what I do now.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for allowing me to come on and share my stories and any words for anyone who is listening who is struggling between the two worlds or between their identity is again just take a moment and really journal, ground yourself, sit in grass if you like, and really just journal what you want your life to look like. Take everything else out. Take out who you're dating, who's in your life, but what you want your life to look like. And the people who are supposed to be there will start to show up and it will start to work out. But you have to authentically be you first and not be someone else for other people.
Ah, I love that. It's so inspiring, and I think it's such a scary journey to be who you authentically are for a lot of us, maybe all of us. But you're right. It's when things start opening up and things start happening that you've always wanted. And so, to anybody that's listening, it to your point, yeah, be your authentic self. There's people that back you. There's people out there that are waiting for you to show up. And we got open arms for you over here. So,
Yes.
all right. Well,
Yes.
thank you again for being on the show. I'm going to post all the links to get in touch with Tammy. And if you want to be a global entrepreneur and you're looking for somewhere to start, she's the girl.
Yes. Global entrepreneur and lifestyle. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review so that we can connect with more people to develop our mind, body, and spirit.